Okay, let's implement the actual search. The first thing that we need to do is actually go through this folder and find all the files. So again, our friend OS will help. We can say os.listdir and give it a folder. In here, this is going to return all of the items in here. So let's say items. Notice I'm not calling them files because sometimes they're folders, sometimes they're files. So we're going to do our loop. We'll say for item in items. And we want to check, well, if this is a folder, we don't want to do this. So we'll say if os.path.isdir item, we're going to not process this item, but we want to keep going through the loop. And the perfect keyword for that is continue. So basically go back to the top of the loop, pull another item and keep going. If it's not a directory, it has to be a file. So then let's write a method that'll just search the file. So what we need to do is store the results, the matches somewhere. So we'll just say matches equals search a single file, and we'll give it the file and the text to search. Now, one thing that we're going to want to be careful with is when we say listdir, this only gives us the file name, not the full path name. So either way, whether it's a directory or a file, we need to do something like this. We'll go full item equals os.path.join. And remember, we made sure that this is an absolute path, and then we want to join up the sub item. Perfect. So here we got to check full item, and down here we want to pass full item. Somehow we'll get to search method in a minute. Somehow we got to do something with these, and that's going to be like a collection of some sort. So let's say all matches. Initially it's an empty list, and we're going to put some stuff into it. In the end, we will return all matches. So here we're going to say something like this. If this was one item, we would say append, but if it's a collection, we want to add the items from that collection individually here, which is what we want. We'll say extend matches. Cool. So last bit to make this work for round one is to implement this file here. So now we know this is a full path to a file name. So we'll just go with that. And here, let's be a little more clear. We'll call this search text. The first thing to do is open the file. So we'll just use our little context manager to make sure we close it under all circumstances. We'll say file name, read only, and let's treat this as text. You'll see there are potential problems when we get into things like binary files. So if I give it a folder and it just starts plowing through all the subfolders, what if there's like images in there or something? And then we want to just go through each line in the file and check it to see if the search text appears in it. So it turns out that these file streams are iterable. So I could say for line in fin, and in a really nice way, just sort of smoothly stream over them without loading the whole file into memory as like an array of strings or something like this. This is also going to be a really key way to use these generator methods later on, but we're not there yet. So the first question is we want to search to see if the substring is in the line, and we probably don't care about case sensitivity or things like that. So let's say if line.find. Now there's two ways to look for a substring. I could say index or I could say find. If I ask for the index and it doesn't exist, it will actually throw an exception. But find will just return -1 if it's not found. So we'll search for search text. And before we do, we want to create a lowercase version of that string. We'll say if the return value is greater than or equal to 0, so they actually found the substring. The other thing we got to do is make sure that this is lowercase. So we can do that once above here instead of every time we hit a file. So let's do something like return text dot lower. Cool. So if this is the case, let's for now just somehow collect up this line of text. We're going to see that this is not the ideal way to do this, and we'll fix it in just a moment. But let's come over here and create a little sub matches just for this file. And if that's the case, we'll say append. And we'll just, for now, this is not the final answer, we'll just append the line of text that we're going to match. And in the end, we'll return matches. So a very limited version of our search is I think working. Let's give it a test. So we're going to come through, create a list to store all of our matches. We're going to get all of the directories and files in the current folder. We'll go through them. We'll build up the full path, which is to join the full path with just the names of the sub-items. Then we'll see if it's a directory. For now, we're going to skip it. If it's a file, we'll search it. And if there's a match, we'll add those in there. If it's empty, that just will have no effect. Awesome. Let's go and try to run this. So on my desktop, I actually have some files here that we're going to go search. And let's see if we go to some classics, like you can see we have Dracula, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, things like that. Now this is the full text of the Sherlock Holmes book. And I got this from Project Gutenberg, and there's a bunch of other ones we'll go through in a little bit, but these are actually the full files. So you'll see this is 160K. That's 777 kilobytes of text. That is a beast of a book. Ulysses is 1.5 megabytes. So we're going to go through all of these files here. Notice we're not going to get into the classics yet because we're just looking at the files. We're skipping the case where it's a directory. So let's go and search here. All right, so we're going to search that books folder, which is full of those textbooks. And the phrase we want to search for is, let's say, friends. Well, that's pretty fantastic, except for we forgot to print out the results. Let's do that really quick. Okay, so we'll capture the matches, and for each one in there, we'll just print this out. Try again. Search for friends, and you can see we found some results. Look at that. So we went through all the various text files, and we printed them out. Now, this is not a very helpful answer, but at least you can see that it's working. Let's just do a little bit of a sanity check. In Harry of the Six Wives' Daughters and the lady friends, cool, there's friends, your friends inside Mr. Lytle. Now, remember, we're just doing substrings. So friends, if we had searched for friend, it would also find friends. We're not doing anything fancy, it's just substring. But it does look like it's working. Now, what line in what book did that appear in? I have no idea. So our next job is to fix that so we actually return more information about our search.